Hello, and welcome once again to Ancient Technology History Today. Who can remember those halcyon days when photographs were not stored on a modern memory card, but instead on a crude strip of plasticine known as film? We certainly have come a long way. Think of the advantages that we enjoy today with digital cameras. There's no cost involved. You print only if you want to. You show them as screensavers. You make a DVD with music. You email them. You put them on the web. On today's episode, I'm going to take you deeper and deeper into the digital revolution. I'll show you how to buy a camera, how to use it, and what to do with the pictures once you've taken them.
I got it because it has a flash shoe on it, a hot shoe.
It shoots really fast, which is great for my son.
I like that it's tiny and it has a huge screen and that it slides open really easily.
There's a great zoom on it. It's got a screen on the back of it. It'll also do the viewfinder too as well.
And it fits in my pocket because I've got big pockets, I suppose. Yeah, it's great.
There's a lot going on with digital cameras. Speed, specifications, megapixels. A lot of times I wonder, how's the average person supposed to navigate the salesman's spiel and understand what's going on? I'm going to stop into a couple of camera stores and see what the salespeople are telling people these days.
Oh,
Paul? I'm David.
I'm Steve. How are you?
The only thing I know for sure is that the more megapixels, the better the picture is, right?
No, it's not necessarily true. I find that 90% of people don't need it.
There are certain cameras out there now that will take instant pictures. They're called digital SLRs.
A bit much for the pants pocket, though. Why shouldn't I just get the smallest one? Very small.
You could go with the smallest camera. This is a great thin option.
Stop the tape, stop the tape. Just wanted to add something that Steve neglected to mention there. Slim, skinny camera means slim, skinny battery. I've eaten crackers bigger than this battery. Remember these digital SLRs? This one has like 2,700 pictures worth of battery life per charge compared with perhaps 300 on this. How much will one of these cameras hold? How many pictures?
That's going to depend just on the memory card you put in it.
Actually, that's really annoying, isn't it? The price of the camera does not include the price of the memory card you'll need to store the pictures on. Buy the biggest one you can afford. You'll never regret it. Are people knowledgeable enough to get a camera that will take good pictures, or are they swayed by the looks and the size and the glamour and the glitz?
I find that most people are looking at style.
Really?
Looking at that glamour and glitz. There's also multiple colored cameras now.
Image stabilizers on a lot of cameras.
You've got blue, pink, and sepia. Red cameras over here. The most stylish and best-selling camera has been the Canon ELPH series. They give you the choice of using your viewfinder, which is the eyepiece here.
All of today's modern shirt pocket cameras have nice big screens, but what don't they have? Canon is one of the few companies still putting those eyepiece viewfinders on their cameras. It's useful when the sun is so bright that it's bleaching out the screen. It's also really useful if you want your battery to last a lot longer, because you can turn off the screen while you're shooting, look through the eyepiece to frame the shots, and go for days on a charge. What if I said I want a really tough camera? My kids are going to be handling it.
This is a shock-resistant housing. This is also a camera that is waterproof.
You can go skiing, you can drop it in mud, clean it up, and keep using it.
How tough is it?
I believe I read a spec that said it would drop over 4 feet and it shouldn't break.
So I could drop it from here?
I don't really want you to, but...
If Olympus says you could drop their camera 4 or 5 feet to concrete, then let's try it. That's where the fun is. Here we go. That's really amazing. There is not a scratch on this thing. Now, the pictures don't look quite as good as the other cameras, but boy, is this tough.
Another big one is the much higher ISO.
And what's good about ISO?
Good for extremely fast-moving subjects and low light.
I heard you can take movies with these cameras?
Most of your point-and-shoot cameras all have a movie function now.
So why would I need a camcorder anymore?
You'll find that camcorders today are going to give you a little bit higher quality than what you're going to get out of a camera. If you're looking for detail in your home movies, nothing beats a video camera.
Take a look at the video from this Canon. It has stereo sound, 30 frames per second, 640 by 480 resolution. That means it fills your entire TV screen. I don't know. I think the better cameras have caught up. So this is a 10 times zoom, this one?
You'll be able to take a 10 times zoom with that.
Is there any downside to having the powerful zoom like that?
It's not very pocket friendly. What some people might do is get a higher megapixel camera these days.
Okay, what is that?
Well, a megapixel is simply a measure of the millions of dots that make up your picture. Now, the more dots you have in a picture, the more detail you see.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Can you rewind and play that line again?
Now, the more dots you have in a picture, the more detail you see.
Oh, Steve, buddy, don't tell me you're gonna repeat the megapixel myth. Fortunately, just before I was about to have to challenge him to a fistfight, Steve said the right thing about megapixels.
They've come out with 10 megapixels now. Is that useful for the person who's shooting a little 4x6? Not really, but it does open up doorways that they didn't have before. Can I take a part of that big picture and then blow that up to full size?
So if I want 8x10 prints, how many megapixels do I need?
If you want to do some enhancing, cropping, maybe a little painting and fool around with the pictures, 5 and 6.
How long before the camera I buy today is going to be bypassed?
Camera technology, as most technology and electronics today, does move very quickly. By the time you walk out the door, your camera's now worth half the price.
Oh my God, I need like a technology therapist to deal with this. Half its value? Dude, who can justify buying a digital camera at that rate? Then again, if it helps to justify the price, remember, you're not going to be paying for film or developing ever again. And besides, remember Pogue's first rule of buying electronics. Sure, it's going to depreciate like crazy, but in the meantime, you'll be getting good use out of it.
My husband got me a digital camera, and he's been trying to figure out how to use it, and I haven't used it at all.
This is an 8 megapixel camera, and I don't need 8 megapixels, especially if you're taking shots of your kid, you know, picking his nose or whatever.
I don't know how it works for the moment, so maybe my pictures will be bad.
I like to take casual shots, in a crowd, and by the time I press the trigger, somebody's scratching their nose or looking the other way.
Ah, yes, shutter lag. I'm very glad this came up. Shutter lag is the lag between the time you press the button and the time the camera actually takes the shot. All that time the camera needs to calculate the exposure and the focus before it can actually snap. And now I'm going to tell you how to avoid shutter lag. It's a little technique known as the half press. Turns out that when you half press the shutter button without pushing it down all the way, the camera pre-computes the focus and the exposure. Then when you push all the way down, no shutter lag at all. Watch this. I'm going to pre-focus on the spot where the cab will be by half pressing. This mark appears, and at the moment, I got the picture I wanted when I wanted it. You want to know what the top 5 amateur photographer mistakes are? Me too. So I'm here in Times Square, New York City, with my Geek Help Desk. I'm going to stop some tourists and ask them. Step right up, no charge, be on national TV.
I'm Jim.
Hey, Jim.
And I'm Tim.
Hey, Tim. Jim and Tim, or
Jim and Tim.
Sorry, so Tim.
We use them interchangeably.
Okay, great. Oh no! Oh. You know what's weird about these memory cards? They disappear like it's incredible. Is this you?
Yeah, I was being a pirate.
And a very good one.
So our big complaint is we cannot take pictures at night. Cannot figure it out.
I hear this one all the time. Blurry, low-light photos when you don't want to use the flash. Part of the problem is that these little cameras have little light sensors. The reason you're getting blur is because the shutter is staying open a long time so it can absorb enough light. Yeah. And during that time, either you or the subject is moving. What you can do is simulate a tripod. You can set it down on something, you can try to brace it with your rib cage. Of course, even if the camera's on something, just the mere act of pushing the shutter button might jiggle it. That's why you use the self-timer control, even if you don't intend to be in the shot. Lights, please. Smile, guys. the camera tends to focus on the closest thing. Now, in this picture, the closest thing was this lady's head.
This one here was without a flash.
Even you, a professional, took a blurry shot. That should give hope to the amateurs everywhere.
Yeah, well, you know, the nice thing about digital is you just shoot again. So here's one with the flash. Now we don't have Grand Central Station in there.
So it exposed for the flashed areas and underexposed the background?
This one here is actually set it down on the railing and then just...
Did the self-timer?
Self-timer.
So my camera's a lot smaller than yours.
As a professional, you know, I had to move over from film. This was a series I did some fireworks at Playland.
Why couldn't someone who owns this camera have taken that picture?
I don't think most consumers would even think about putting that on a tripod.
So you're from where?
I'm from Spain.
Ah, welcome to the Big Apple.
Oh, thank you very much.
Or should I say hola?
Yeah.
This is one thing I noticed about these little cameras. Like if you did something like this, see it does what we call blows out the whites. You were not going for an artsy shot there.
No, I think we wanted the faces.
You wouldn't think it makes sense to use the flash on a bright sunny day, but if the light is behind your subject, the camera exposes for the bright light and puts their face in shadow. So here, for example, is the same photograph without the fill flash and with the fill flash.
Thank you very much, David. Appreciate it.
Enjoy New York City.
Thank you.
Would you mind manning the booth from here on?
Absolutely. Hey, I can do this. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Give the lady the free It's All Geek to Me t-shirts. Oh, we don't have any, but...
Oh, all right. Oh, well.
See you later. Hello, welcome back to Ancient Technology History Today. In the Mesozoic era, primitive man was required to process his film in a dark room filled with dangerous and sometimes hallucinogenic chemicals. Today, of course, the room needn't be dark at all.
It makes you look good, because, you know, with a digital photograph, you know, you show everybody your pictures and they're like, wow, those look great. And you're like, yeah, because I deleted, you know, the last 500 that sucked.
I like my digital camera because I can correct my wrinkles on my computer.
I just snap away and get home and hit the computer.
Yes, indeed. This is the fun part. This is where the pictures come off the camera and go onto the computer where we have fun with them. Now, for the next few minutes, I'm going to be working in a digital shoebox program. If you have a Macintosh, you already have one of these programs. It's called iPhoto. If you have a Windows PC, you should go get one of these programs. There's an iPhoto clone that's really wonderful. It's called Picasa. It comes to you from the fine, friendly folks at Google, and it is absolutely free. In the box that came with the camera, you will find a cable. This is a USB cable. It stands for Universal Serial Bus, although that won't be on the test. You connect the camera to the computer with the cable and turn it on. At this point, all you have to do is click the import button and watch as all your pictures fly onto the hard drive. Both of these programs can show you tens of thousands of photos at a time. So how do you get a handle on this seething morass of pictures? Well, you put them into albums. Not that kind of albums, digital albums. What's really cool about these albums is they don't contain your original photos. These are just sort of references to them. What I mean by that is, let's say you had a photograph of Aunt Mildred bareback horseback riding in Brazil. Okay, so you could, if you wanted, create 3 different albums. One called Aunt Mildred, one called Brazil, one called horseback riding, and store the same picture in all 3 of them. Every now and then, you'll look at one of these pictures and you'll think to yourself, boy, I really could have done better with that shot. Let's start with this stunning picture of the New York City skyline taken by myself out the window of a moving cab. So there's a couple of problems with this picture. One is the whole thing is crooked. It would be nice to be able to look at this picture without standing like this. Fortunately, both of these programs have a picture straightening tool. I'm going to click this little adjust button here, and I'm going to drag the slider right here, the straighten slider, back and forth until we get the picture straight. It's still not great though, because I have those struts right in the way of the lens. That is why we use the cropping tool. You just drag a box over the part of the picture that you want to keep, and then click crop. Incidentally, cropping isn't only useful for getting rid of stray girders. It can also really add impact to a picture that was taken just fine to begin with. Take a look at this picture here of these two girls at a soccer game. It's a nice picture, it's a cute pose, but am I really interested in the fence and the guy's jacket? Am I even interested in their fleece sweatshirts? No, I say, I am not. That's why I'm going to crop this one really tightly. Watch what a difference this kind of cropping makes. Both iPhoto and Picasa also offer an extremely easy fix for red eye. Let's take a look at our assistant, John, looking as though he's the spawn of the dead. The flash actually sends light to the back of his eyeballs, reflects off the blood of the tissue, and reflects outward to the lens again. That's why you get red eye. Fortunately, it's fairly easy to fix. I'm going to click the red eye button right here. Just click in the center of each eye, and presto, and John is no longer the spawn of Satan. Well, he might be, but at least his eyes aren't red. Now I want you to have a look at this picture of my two adorable children. Unfortunately, they are in shadow. They are silhouetted because of the bright light behind them. Fortunately, both Picasa and iPhoto make it extremely easy to adjust the exposure of the picture even after you took it. There are my skin tones. Those are the children I know and love. Once you've got your pictures tweaked the way you like them, it's time to start bringing them to the world for all your fans to enjoy. The easiest and quickest way to do that is to click the slideshow button. It's on both iPhoto and Picasa. All you do is click the album you want and then slideshow and stand back to accept the ovation. And yet, why go to all that trouble? Why not just email them the picture? Well, I have to tell you something about digital photographs. It turns out that the number of pixels, the number of dots that make up the picture, is totally different for prints and for viewing on the screen. That's why when I click the email button here, it asks me, how would I like this photograph scaled down for sending in email? And off that email goes. It will arrive in the recipient's email just about this big on the screen. Perfecto.
I hadn't touched my digital camera because my husband's using it all the time. I've given up.
Well, I don't know what to do with all this stuff on my computer. I don't know how to show it to people. It basically just sits on the computer after I put it on there from the camera.
What I don't like is that I don't actually have pictures at my house anymore. It's always nice going through your old family albums. It sort of loses that romance to it.
Now, it's one thing to know all about taking, editing, and organizing pictures. It's quite another to complete the process by getting them on paper. That's why a lot of people simply buy a printer at home. The one nice thing about today's printers, a lot of them have memory card slots right on the front. That means you can take the card out of your camera and print pictures directly off the card. You don't even need to own a computer. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The darkroom of old has been reduced to a little appliance that can sit on your kitchen counter. But you don't need your own printer. Oh, no, 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 no. Just about any drugstore or camera shop in America has one of these here kiosks. Take the card out of your camera, pop it in there, look through the pictures until you find the one you want. You can crop it or adjust the colors, and in just moments, well, just minutes, you have your picture. No muss, no fuss, and no printer. But why stop at measly little prints? Check this out. In iPhoto, click the name of an album, and then click this button that says Book. This is amazing. For $20 or $30, in 2 days, you get sent back one of these. Hardbound, marbleized end papers, acid-free pages with your pictures professionally printed. Has that new book smell. You can get calendars made, greeting cards. I know I sound like a commercial, but I have to tell you, I make one of these books for my wife every year for Christmas, and there are tears. And my wife likes them a lot, too. Now, there's no little equivalent feature in Picasa, but there are plenty of websites that let you make those calendars and books and a lot more. Places like mypublisher.com, kodakgallery.com, and shutterfly.com. They'll make you mouse pads, mugs, pillows, even 8-foot photo blankets. Speaking of printing, one thing's been bugging me. This thing about megapixels. What's the big deal about megapixels? Megapixels, megapixels, blah, blah, blah. The manufacturers want you to think more megapixels means better pictures. I want to prove whether that's true or not. What you see here are 3 identical pictures, same camera, same photographer, but one is 5 megapixels, one is 8, and one is 13. All blown up to the same size by the same enlargement company. Come on, you gotta be able to tell me the difference. I think this is number 1, number 2, and number 3. This is the expensive one, this is the middle one, and this is the cheapie.
I cannot tell the difference.
This is tough. There's really no difference. There's no difference. I don't see a difference between the two.
Even though there's $1,500 between the worst picture camera and the best picture camera, you can't see the difference?
They all looked exactly the same.
Best, worst, middle.
Could you really tell, or were you kind of guessing?
Kind of guessing. Basic guessing.
I'll say this is the best.
He's picked the best.
This is the next.
He's picked the next.
And that's the worst.
He's picked the worst. And you got all 3 wrong. So the 5 megapixel would do you just fine?
Definitely would. Definitely.
After 5, I'm good.
Thanks a lot, man. Great job, Isaiah. You're awesome. So I don't think you need me to pound this lesson into your head, but here it is. The megapixels, not relevant once you're over 4 or 5, even if you're going to make enlargements. What makes a good picture? You, the photographer, the lens, the lighting, the circuitry, not the megapixels. Thank you for joining us. Tune in next time when we take a look at just how quickly the digital camera that you bought today became history.
This was a medium, and that was the worst.
November? You are absolutely right!
Yay!
If you had been standing a couple feet away, could you have told me the difference?
Yes. That's how I knew which ones to go up to close up first. I could tell that on this one, the atmosphere was more milky and I could see the lines. This has a bigger grid pattern, and this one I could barely see the grid pattern.
How did you know?
I've taken a photography class.
Oh! Of all the people in New York, I get an expert.